Hey everyone, my name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Hopefully you're having a great day. I'm going to talk about rapidly changing, and what that means is the world around us is rapidly changing. We're moving to new energy sources. We're looking at new forms of transportation. There's all this technology advancement, software development. There's a lot of things that are changing in our lives. So I'm gonna touch on this. And there's a couple of things I think we should focus on, investing-wise. So I call this one rapidly changing. So the world is undergoing many changes over time. Technology is drastically changing our lives. New designs and old ones being transitioned much more rapidly. As an investor, it's very important to understand this change. And I want to touch on something that is basically universal. So what I call this is finding value. So all wealth is either a natural resource itself or a natural resource that is converted into a usable product. I find it the easiest way to preserve wealth is by investing in natural resources themselves. Investing directly into precious metals is a way to preserve wealth and minimize risk. If you invest in natural resources that are going to be used greatly in new designs, the value of that natural resource should increase very rapidly. And that's what, if you noticed and you listen to some of my videos, we go after the most underpriced, undervalued commodities and precious metals. And then we take a look into the future at the market balances to see where the deficits are in the future. And if you can align something that is highly undervalued and has a large deficit in the future, you just found a very, very good investment. So I look at the risks. What are the risks in the world today? I am in the camp, and not everyone is, that energy scarcity could be a risk in the future. That's energy return on energy invested. And that may not ever materialize, but I just kind of have that in my back pocket that I think about sometimes. We know that ore grades are declining over time, and those materials are going to become more valuable. Population increases and natural resources remain the same. So if you think about it, the natural resources should become more valuable per capita over time as population increases. Everyone wants to become more wealthy, which puts strain on natural resources of a finite world. And I know people talk about mining asteroids and mining different planets. I just don't think we're anywhere near that yet. And then there's also the risk of just increased taxes. As states and countries become more desperate, they're going to raise taxes to meet whatever schemes or scams, however you want to call it, they want to meet. So in my opinion, the easiest way, since so many companies at the end are changing so rapidly on the back half of the value creation. So you've got the natural resource, and then you've got the changing that natural resource to a usable product. That back half where you change the natural resource to a usable product, that's changing very rapidly. We don't know who the winners are. We don't know who's going to come out top. The one thing we do know is that they have to use natural resources to create a product. And if we know roughly what the natural resources are that they're going to use in their products, we don't have to speculate on who the winner is going to be on that back half of the value adders. We want to look at the natural resource and invest in the natural resources themselves. So I like the bet of the natural resource, because then anybody can, I don't care who wins on the back half who gets the lion's share of the market or whatnot. All I know is they're going to attack nickel, copper, silver, platinum. Those are the things that I know are going to be consumed. And then if you look if you look at today, you look out in the future, and if there's going to be large market deficits of these materials, it makes it very easy to see the value and utility to society, and it makes it easy to make long-term investments. So I find it a lot easier to speculate on the materials side of the new designs and invest in those materials. That's what I like doing. I can also see the value and utility to society and also the scarcity of these materials going forward. And if the trend is electric vehicles, we know where they're all going to run. And if electric vehicles are the next big thing, or if renewables, or if anything in society, technology-wise, is really going to run after, let's say, a very small amount of materials, you want to go in the materials themselves. It's just an easy bet. Because it doesn't matter who runs after it. It's a demand from somewhere. So I see that as a very, very easy bet. Also, they also provide much leverage when the timing is right in terms of wealth creation, in terms of the materials in the commodities cycle. So the leverage that you get for wealth creation can happen in a very short period of time. So when you think of nickel, that's used in electric vehicle batteries. There's going to be a gigantic shortage at some point, and prices could skyrocket. And if everyone's running at this stuff, it could happen in a very short period of time. And the opposite or negative effect could happen of those who consume nickel. So the electric vehicles could say, oh, they're a great opportunity. Once everybody figures out that nickel's pretty scarce, and if nickel prices go up 5-fold, 10-fold, 20-fold, 30-fold, whatever it is, I don't know the exact amount, everyone's going to have to revalue all the electric vehicle or the consumers of the nickel in these electric vehicles and batteries. They're all going to have to be pushed downward, because when nickel gets to a certain price that all these people are fighting for, the value is getting sucked out of those end producers and being transferred to the natural resource. So at some point, when the minerals become more scarce in the world, countries will fight or preserve what is left. And I think some unthinkable things could occur. War, nationalization, massive taxes on some of these things, confiscation. There's a whole bunch of things that could happen. And I think it will be normal one day, like everything's fine, and then it just changes very rapidly another day or month. It all happens overnight. And the opportunity will be there in the beginning, and then all of a sudden it will be gone. It's not a slow change. It's, hey, we've got nickel, hey, we've got some of these investments, and then all of a sudden the price flings up higher because you see all these electric vehicle manufacturers running to nickel producers, trying to get contracts, driving the pricing up, and everyone gets scared, and then they keep going after it even more aggressively. So it could be normal one day and what the heck happened very rapidly. So the conclusion here is I like natural resource types of investments. I like physical resource investments like precious metals and whatnot. And natural resources is really the foundation of all wealth if you think about it. And I think this is what everyone's going to fight over in the future. And if you really think about it, if the foundation of wealth is natural resources and you have all the natural resources, what do you have? You have all the wealth. I mean, think about that. Give it a good hard, sit down and think about wealth in general and value. And what you're going to end up with is you're going to say, man, this is ridiculous. Something that we take for free, water, may be the most valuable commodity in the future. That might lead to wealth. And then you start looking at other things like the metals and materials, and you're like, man, a country that doesn't have that, they're screwed. And if this is finite in this world, and we're going to change society for whatever reason it is, and if everyone wants to continue to be wealthier and wealthier and wealthier, we're going to be fighting over this stuff. If it is finite and if we hit constraints. I think that's probably in the near future, within 20 years for sure. Some of these could be within 10 years. I don't know all. And remember, it's not a complete running out. It's a deficit, a sustained deficit over time that grows. That, I think, will tip everything over the edge. We see that in some of these commodities looking forward. Copper, nickel, cobalt. We look at silver, platinum, probably uranium. I mean, you look at these things, there's huge deficits out there. So we'll see what happens when these deficits materialize. So if you guys like this content, click the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't, and leave comments on what you guys want to see. If you want to see something else, if you want to learn something different, let me know. I have no problems creating videos for everyone on the channel. Thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.